Hey, welcome back to Compounding Quietly. The index did not change last month, but the portfolio quietly did. Most investors never notice the difference between those two things. And that gap in understanding can cost you clarity when it matters most. Let's get into it. When people think about index funds, they often picture something fixed, a set list of companies, holding steady, requiring no attention. But that is not how a dividend-focused index actually works. Even without a formal rebalancing event, the weight of every holding shifts every single day. Prices move. Dividend yields adjust. One sector outperforms while another drifts. And over time, those quiet, invisible movements reshape what you actually own. In the past month, roughly mid-April to mid-May, the Dow Jones U.S. Dividend 100 Index, which SCHD tracks, went through exactly that kind of quiet shift. No holdings were added or removed on a forced basis. No emergency rebalancing took place. But if you placed the start of April composition beside the current snapshot, the two would look meaningfully different. That matters more than most investors realize. Because when you invest in SCHD, you are not buying a frozen list of companies. You are buying into a structure that continuously reflects which dividend-paying companies are earning their weight. Understanding how that structure shifted recently and why is not about reacting. It is about confirming that the process you trusted is still working the way you expected. The concern most investors bring to a video like this, one, is not whether SCHD is a good fund. Most people who hold it already believe it is. The real question tends to be more specific. Is the index still tracking the kind of companies I actually want to own? Are the shifts I'm reading about a reason to pause or a reason to stay the course? Those are the right questions, and answering them requires understanding what actually changed and what it means. Let's start with the most visible shift. The March rebalancing brought in two new large-cap additions to the index, United Health Group and Abbott Laboratories. At the moment of their entry, both companies received meaningful initial weight allocations. But the more important story is what happened in the 30 days that followed. These two companies did not simply survive their entry into the index. They settled in and strengthened their position. Healthcare as a sector held up with relative stability during a period when other parts of the market experienced notable volatility. As a result, both United Health and Abbott climbed toward approximately 4% of the fund's total weight each. That places them in direct competition for the top three positions within the fund, a significant development for companies that only entered the index less than 2 months ago. Sit with that for a moment. Two companies that were not even part of SCHD heading into spring are now among its most influential holdings. An investor who bought this fund in January and has not looked closely at the holdings since could be surprised by how much. The character of the top positions has shifted. That surprise is not cause for alarm, but it is worth understanding clearly. The reason this shift matters is what it tells you about the index's underlying design. A rules-based dividend quality screen does not ask for opinions. It does not make calls on which sector will outperform. It simply responds to what the market is expressing through performance and dividend consistency. Healthcare earned its weight over the past month. The index reflected that without anyone having to decide. Now consider what happened on the other side. Energy was already trimmed going into the March rebalancing. Its allocation was reduced from roughly 20% down to approximately 16%. As part of that formal adjustment, over the past 30 days, that softening has continued, not dramatically, but consistently. Energy-related holdings experienced a period of sideways movement and mild correction alongside oil price volatility. Without any formal action, their influence within the fund compressed a little further. An investor watching this from the outside might interpret that as a warning. If energy is declining within my fund, should I be concerned? Here is the clearer way to think about it. The fund is not making a bet against energy. It is reflecting what the market is currently expressing through price and dividend sustainability. When energy-related companies underperform on a relative basis, the index naturally reduces their influence. That is not a failure of the process. That is the process doing exactly what it was designed to do. Let's look at the middle tier. Home Depot and PepsiCo have both been moving within the top 10 rankings, shifting 1 or 2 positions, depending on the week's price action following their quarterly earnings reports. Neither company has experienced anything alarming. What you are seeing is a natural expression of how a market-sensitive index responds to earning seasons. Different investors receive different results from the same quarter and vote with their buying and selling. The index absorbs those votes and adjusts weight accordingly. Texas Instruments and Lockheed Martin also saw organic weight movement. Technology stocks experienced a partial recovery in the broader market, which supported TXN's positioning. Defense sector sentiment remained elevated through much of the period, which helped Lockheed maintain its standing. Again, neither of these is a strategic signal. Both are simply the index expressing what the market communicated through price. Coming back to the question from the opening, is the index still tracking the kind of companies you want to own? Here is what the past month's shifts suggest. The index is moving toward healthcare, durability, and gently away from energy concentration. It is currently rewarding companies that maintain strong dividend profiles through a volatile earnings period. It is naturally reducing weight in sectors where momentum has softened without requiring anyone to intervene. And it is doing all of this through a process that was agreed upon in advance, not improvised in response to fear or excitement. That is the point worth holding on to. When a dividend index shifts composition between formal rebalancing cycles, it is not a warning. It is confirmation that the structure is alive and self-correcting. That is the design. That is why rules-based investing exists. For the investor with a long time horizon, the lesson from the past month is clear. The index handled the rotation. The quality screens handled the selection. Your job is not to manage what the fund already manages for you. The investors who quietly built lasting wealth through funds like this did not do so by tracking every shift in the top 10 holdings. They did not reconsider their position every time a new sector moved up or down in the rankings. They continued buying on a fixed schedule, the same date, the same decision, regardless of which company happened to be ranked first, or fourth, or seventh at any given moment. That consistency is not passive. It is a discipline. And discipline, compounded over years, is where the real return comes from. The composition changed quietly this month. The structure held. That is exactly what you want to see. Compounding quietly investing that gives you peace of mind. If this video helped, subscribe and leave a like. I hope this becomes a small source of strength in your investment journey. The content in this video is for general informational purposes only. All final decisions and responsibilities remain with the investor. Thank you for spending time with Compounding Quietly today.